listening to Smashing the Party. This is your host, Nate Baumberger.
VP pick doesn't matter. I know you thought probably I wasn't going to get off alive today. Well, it turns out I am a human being that when given enough Sudafed, when given enough allergy medicine, when given enough muscle relaxers, I will sleep through anything. I had a severe headache today, and I took some pills to try to get away with the headache, and next thing you know, I wake up and it's 10:45, so I scramble to the office. I get there. Fortunately, my research team has been able to put together a show worthwhile. My design team, as you know, they were able to update the placard. So all is well. We have not missed a beat, folks. We're not counting this against us. Despite the oversleep, we're going to chalk this one up as human. But tonight we're going to talk about JD Vance. Does it even fucking matter? That's what my topic of today is. Does it fucking matter? Everyone's talking about JD Vance. We know there was an assassination attempt. We know JD Vance has come into the picture. I promised I would talk about it today, so that's what we're going to do. One other thing before I get started. This is really important. This is probably the most important thing I'm going to tell you. Shannon Sharpe has successfully hijacked my hashtag nightcap. I had it before he had it. Obviously, Shannon Sharpe is wildly successful before he started his old podcast. I'm not saying anything negative about it. It's a good podcast. He was single-handedly able to take down that other dude from ESPN because he left his show. But motherfucker, how could you step on my hashtag? You have it, but I had it first. I know you stole it. I know for a fact you stole it. So what does that mean, folks? I can either complain and bitch, but every time you click on my little hashtag, you're going to see Uncle Shannon Sharpe instead of Nate Baumberger. And so he's won. He's won the battle. So you're going to start seeing a new hashtag. It's not going to be Nightcap. It's still my show. I came up with it. I put the logo in. I'm not going to let the establishment take my show. I know you love that one. I had that plan better. Is my autofocus not working? Anyway, all right. So the news is it's going to be a new hashtag. But let's get back to JD Vance, the presidential pick. It's the hot topic of today, despite the fact that it's the RNC and we've got the assassination attempt. We've got all kinds of crazy going on. Look, this week is the cornucopia of crazy from coming out of the right. You're going to see keynote speakers like Marjorie Greene Taylor be occulated by their conservative group. You're going to see people like Donald Trump hoisted upon a golden petard. You're going to see people like Steve Bannon speaking from the prison. I kid you not. I guarantee you he'll figure out a way to live stream that shit if he's not already there. This is where all the RNC ideas, all their crazies, their whole party gets together to formally nominate their nominee so that their nominee can go on the ballot in November. And so they're nominating Trump. Trump picked JD Vance. What do we know about JD Vance? Well, I know some stuff, and it's some stuff that we're going to say about everything. We can pick apart everything about JD Vance. But my larger question today is, does it fucking matter? Does it matter if we have Winnie the Pooh, Enor, Sex and the City cast when the platform is what it is? It doesn't matter. And so I'd love for people to understand that the figureheads of these parties are literally supposed to be their top salesmen, let's just call it. Their top evangelists for their agenda. Their executor, not execution, but their executor of the agenda for the platform. So what does it matter? And I know this isn't going to probably land like the way I want it to land, but my larger point is, okay, so we picked JD Vance, and we can talk about JD Vance for a couple days, but what does it matter? Because no matter who he puts into that position, both of them are going to run on that Project 2025 garbage or the RNC garbage, which is what they've been doing for the last whatever years. So we get caught up, and it's really interesting in this exciting, election process, and it's important. Don't get me wrong, but how important is the VP pick? I know you can say, well, they're old and it's important now. I get it, but my point is, it doesn't matter if it's Trump or Mike Pence running for the Republican ticket. Project 2025 is here to stay. The RNC platform isn't going anywhere. We got to get over these figureheads and the hatred of the other side, because the Republican Party has been able to do what scares historians. They've been able to implant a populist person into the ethos of the political ethos of America, and now America has to contemplate between this, the natural horrible nature for people to aggregate towards something that, or someone that keeps mimicking and saying the things that they want to hear, even though they're going to do different things. This is like the horror show of politics. It's what we hate politicians for, yet we see the Republican Party succumbing to this cult of personality. It's total craziness. And so my larger effort today is to hopefully say, look, I've got info on JD Vance. Of course, he was a never Trumper. Of course, he said Trump was like Hitler. Of course, he made statements that suggested anyone that votes for Trump is making the biggest mistake of their life. He made statements that said, I'm paraphrasing, Trump is a demagogue and bad for America and will be the last thing America sees. So this is now the vice presidential pick. Why did Trump pick someone who he knew said all these hateful things? Because JD Vance did an about face and now is preaching Trump, Trump, Trump. I say this on my show all the time. What is it about power that changes people? What is that vice that makes somebody be able to look their mother in the eyes and say, hey, this is the way I am today, and then look their mother in the eyes and say, nope, that was never true. I'm this person today. Wait, where did you go? You're gaslighting me. Who fucking cares? I've got power. This is what I think it works. I think it's better than Peruvian flake. I think it's better than fish scale. If you don't know what I'm talking about, that's a shame. My point is, something about power changes people, and it makes everybody just say, oh, fuck it. Fuck everything I stood for up until this point. I've got the big crack rock of power. Because JD Vance is one of those people I followed on Twitter. I was really excited about for anyone that was speaking out against this wave of bullshit coming down the pike called Trump MAGA world. And he was one of those folks that spoke out about it. What do we know now about JD Vance? What does this say about JD Vance? It says enough. It says all you need to hear is that he's a waffler. There's no there. There's no principle. He is an avatar. If Trump were to pass away or something bad would happen to Trump and he would step in, we would have the reflection of the Republican platform incarnate, white, male, privileged, don't do as I do, married to an Indian. Of course, that will be pushed down hard by Trump. Trump will always use that against him. When Trump decides that JD Vance has done something against him, there will be nothing short of barrages coming from Donald Trump about the race of his wife. You may say, well, that makes him more dynamic. Look, these people are able to operate as wolves in sheep's clothing and say, hey, do as I do, don't do as I say, don't do as I do. So it doesn't soften my heart for JD Vance that he's in a biracial relationship, because that's lost on him. He doesn't realize that he's part of the party that will throw him out the moment they get, and that moment they find out his wife is of Indian descent, they'll flock to him and suggest he's a rhino. It's just bound to happen. I'll guarantee it's happened. The party is full of racists. They know this. It's part of their base. And look, if you're a Republican, you know this too. It doesn't mean you're a racist. It just means that your party seems to attract the racists. It attracts the Christian nationalists. And that's just a fact. And we always have to, if I'm a conservative Republican, I'm going to say, yeah, that's true. We're trying to fight that. But it's just because our ideas kind of ride on this fence of authoritarianism and libertarianism, which tends to attract people that haven't really thought out what, really done any kind of deep policy thinking. Wow, wouldn't you know it? The whole Republican Party based on this fucking people that don't do any deep policy thinking. Who the fuck would have thought? That's the biggest sarcasm I'll ever say in the show. It's my biggest pet peeve with Republicans. Like, I want a strong Republican Party, but you fucking have these clowns you don't think. You hoist Donald Trump on us. Come on. What the fuck? So I came in late today to talk about J.D. Vance, but what does it matter? J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Mike Pence, Mike Johnson, Michael Steele, Jim Jones. Who fucking cares who their figurehead is when their platform is going to be the same? It's like that CEO, like when Steve Jobs left, Tim Cook took over, and it was almost like Steve Jobs never left. That was the point, right? Now, you can argue that Tim Cook isn't a Steve Jobs, and people are out there saying that. But for a transition from a founder who was iconic and the pretty much almost indistinguishable from the Apple brand to pass away and for that company to continue going, they had to be on the same level. So the figureheads had the same vision. So changing figureheads didn't do much. Now in governments, it's even in a political party, you even have more kind of fallback or security mechanism. We have an equal, try to have an equal power branch. What the fuck is, I don't know why I said equal power. The three branches are supposed to have equal power. And there's a word for it, but it's slipping my mind. So maybe it's the medicine. Equal power, equal branch. Fucking shit. 50. My larger point was that the branches should be equal, and I don't even know why I was saying it, honestly. Maybe the medicine's really kicking in. But I think what my larger point was about J.D. Vance and how it doesn't matter who we put into the Republican Party or even the Democratic Party and the platform head. It's going to be about the agenda that the platform has and how effective they can get it done. And so it's nice, as I've been saying about Joe Biden, it's nice to have someone that can sell the effectiveness of your policy. But if Joe Biden's replaced with Kamala Harris, okay, fine. It's not the end of the world for me. I still vote Democrat. That's the whole point of the party platform, right? So everyone's talking about J.D. Vance, and the press is running around. Obviously, it's nice to have moved past the assassination attempt already. And, of course, Trump's walking around with the bandage on his ear. I mean, he gets the right to milk this as much as possible. And quite frankly, if anyone, including myself, just survived an assassination attempt, you're kind of a baller. It is a big deal. It does not get my vote. Trust me. I mean, well, how soft you. Ooh, wow, they dodged a bullet. Now I'm going to vote for them. What the fuck is that? I don't give a fuck. He dodged a bullet. That's fantastic. But that doesn't mean I'm bending over backwards for his policies now. My God. Oh, wow, sympathy vote because you almost died? No. Fuck no. I'm happy that nothing bad happened other than a little scratch on his ear. But that doesn't pull me. I don't sympathize with him at all. It's not like, oh, and there's no glee of like, ooh, wow, this happened. It's just, okay, glad we're able to move past it. Glad he's healthy. But for Christ's sake, no, absolutely not. No sympathy. And I still want you to die in prison. Like, absolutely, positively want you to live a long, healthy life behind bars. No, this is not the way I want you to go. Let's just be clear. But J.D. Vance comes along in the timing. The timing is impeccable. Trump's riding the wave of attention, sucking on the oxygen out of the room. J.D. Vance is picked. The press picks up that he was a never Trumper. They continue to bash him and beat him up and say how off he is. And I could certainly put the same, and my team put the same kind of agenda together. He's from Ohio. He was a never Trumper. He emerged as a VP pick for Donald just because he has done this about face, but he has a very long history of criticizing Donald Trump. He called Donald Trump America's Hitler. He said it's a moral disaster. So I think that Trump is not stupid, though, and by selecting a never Trumper as his VP, it's going to help him get those people that were on the fence that were never Trumpers. Now they have somebody who was a never Trumper who is part of the administration. It's going to end badly for JD Vance. The other thing that no one's talking about, the elf in the room, is why the fuck isn't he with Mike Pence? Why did he have to pick a new VP? That's a huge issue. Why is he not running with the same ticket? Does he believe that Mike Pence hurt his candidacy last time? Does he believe JD Vance will help his candidacy? I think the larger question is, how crazy is it that Mike Pence wasn't on the ticket? I mean, why wouldn't you want Mike Pence on the ticket? What happened there? Would Mike Pence not get on the ticket? Did Mike Pence refuse to get on the ticket? Isn't that relevant that the former vice president of the United States is no longer on the ticket for the new nominee? Why? If he was the best option then, why is he not the best option now? It's mind-blowing, and most likely it's because demographics, and they wanted to get that young-looking JD Vance in their pipeline. Of course, this is going to elevate JD Vance to the limelight, and now he's going to be a contender in the future, because when you get hoisted into this kind of limelight, you automatically have instant followers. Perhaps we should run for president here at Smash the Party and see if we can grow our base that way. Maybe we'd get to 1,000 YouTubers then. Motherfuckers, just follow me on YouTube. Stop fucking playing. I just watched my own show tonight on YouTube. Yeah, that sounds vain. It was wonderful. What the fuck are you guys doing? You don't get commentary like this from corporate mainstream media. Get the fuck out of here and subscribe to my YouTube. Put that on. It's a half hour to 45 minutes, hour, whatever, of pure bliss. So I will say I watched my own show and I was like, holy shit, this is fucking dope. I'd watch this. Anyway, truth is, it doesn't matter whether we have JD Vance or anybody else. We have the RNC platform that we have to talk about. We have to continue to talk about Project 2025. We have to continue to talk about the crazy. Look, these motherfuckers overturned Roe v. Wade. If you're a woman now, your health is at risk. Infant mortality in Texas has gone up 13% since Roe v. Wade was overturned. Folks, this is not just about my team, your team, their team, our team. It's more about like your livelihood. If you're a woman, it's literally about your livelihood and how long you're going to be on this planet. You have an entire party that's saying a major feature, a major operation, a major modus operandi of the female is now under government control. We decide when you can have babies. We decide when you can abort them. We decide when your reproductive system will be used to further society. You are now an instrument of the government. I swear to God, what the hell else do you think is going to happen? They're already outlawing IVF. They're already doing this stuff. So we can talk about JD Vance. We can talk about Donald Trump. We can talk about how old Joe Biden is. We can talk about Kamala Harris. Or we can talk about the real agenda. We all get caught up in this cult of personality. We're all fucking wound up about the presidential election. Every 4 years we get concerned. Meanwhile, in the between years, they inject their party favorites into our Congress because no one's paying attention then. And then we wonder, gee, why isn't anything changes? Well, because we only get excited about every 4 years. It becomes my team versus your team. And you got a whole bunch of dumbass people that don't vote locally, and they only think that national politics. Now, here on Smash the Party, I do a lot of talking about global politics and more national politics than I do local, because I don't really want to fucking create so many enemies locally. I already have realtors that hate me. I know that the mayor's not a fan of me. I'm not a fan of her either, by the way. Touche. But I'm not a fan of you, Smucker. I'm not a fan of you, Scott Martin. You know, but it's like, I don't hate these people, and I have to kind of interact with them, so I avoid it. But the truth is that we're in this position where we have two old people. We're going to be talking about the vice presidential pick of Donald Trump right after an assassination. I mean, we're just in this chaos, and it's like we're directionless. I mean, JD Vance feels like the Sarah Palin pick, except it was picked, and what I mean by that is Sarah Palin was picked because to offset the demographic of Hillary Clinton versus Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama. Sorry, it was Barack Obama. It was a demographic pick to kind of thwart the excitement of having Barack Obama as a nominee, an African American. And so J.D. Vance pulls in the young crowd, that pulls in the right conservative young folks that are, really not unexcited about Donald Trump. Young people that are Republican are excited about Donald Trump. So, it's the biggest reason he picked J.D. Vance is because J.D. Vance is a flip-flopper, and J.D. Vance now is this biggest advocate. So he can say, look, this guy wasn't convinced, and now he's convinced. And so you can be convinced too. But if Democrats are smart, they'll continue to focus on the policies that we talked about. If you go back and watch my Biden's grandma's plan, I mean, the Biden administration forced the hand of nursing homes to better staff, have better quality services. And that affects everybody. It's rules like that. And Republicans fought against it. It's so bizarre. Just because Joe Biden did it, they say it's more regulation. But we're talking about mom, grandma, and grandpa in a rest home. So Democrats win no matter whether the vice presidential pick is Jesus Christ himself or not, is to focus on the policies and the do-nothing bullshit that we have to deal with the Republican Congress, with the Republican Senate, and with a Republican presidential candidate. That's the winning formula. The winning formula isn't to talk about Donald Trump and how awful he is. We know how awful he is. The winning formula is not to talk about J.D. Vance and how he flip-flopped, because we all know that. We can Google search it. We can easily find that out. What we need to do that's different, that's better, that we had that in that moment before the assassination attempt, before Trump has sucked out all the oxygen in the air, is we need to focus on policy and the differences in policy. And I think both sides would agree it's good for America when we're talking about the facts and policy, as opposed to demagoguery and populist bullshit that we know is just feeding the id of America, as opposed to giving us our oats and vegetables, what we need, right? Fascism and populism is kind of like, sugary pops, or soda. So because it tastes good, we love it. It really goes down, but we know if we have too much of it, it's going to kill us. It's bad for us. You wouldn't feed anybody that alone. You would kill somebody. So we know that it's really not healthy, and it's a little treat for somebody to get a little populist bump. But quite frankly, somebody running as a populist or a fascist, which they do right out in the open now, by the way. And these words are scary to some people, but they're like really in action, like every bit in action today. It's not just in history. We're straight up fascist in many ways today. We're straight up communist in many ways. We're straight up socialist in many. We're straight up capitalist in many ways. See, this is where it gets really confusing. The point is, do not get distracted by the presidential pick. Do not let your eyes be wooed or hypnotized by the cadence of his name, J.D. Vance. Yet sounds cool. Do not be hypnotized by the fact that he wrote a screenplay that had Meryl Streep in it. Don't get excited about that. I promise you it doesn't make him more interesting. What should be the focus for Democrats, political consultants, voters, is what does the RNC stand for? What's their agenda? And how are they going to implement it? And we know everything we need to know by looking at Project 2025. So it doesn't matter if they pick Winnie the Pooh or Enor as the VP pick. Stop focusing on the personality and start looking at what these plans, the architects of the ideas that come from the Conservative Party, look at what they're trying to do. They are effective at doing what they're doing. They got fucking Trump's case overturned because they had, prior to that, strategically placed a judge that apparently just looks at, hey, what's your party affiliation? Cool, I'll rule for you. So they've now had some of these things that were supposed to put Trump in jail are being thrown out because the Republican Party does a better job of planning, foresight, making sure they take care of their own. They are going to be the party that brings corruption to America. You can guarantee it. Nobody takes care of their own more than they do. Nobody believes in loyalty more than Republicans. And so if your loyalty is of the loyalty type, the quintessential loyalty, then you're going to get reward in the Republican Party. And we know that. Donald Trump has stated as much that he would run for as a Republican because he thinks they're the stupid party. And that's not, obviously that's being validated by the fact that they've embraced this person who's a moron, who knew they were morons and decided to run in the moron party. By the way, I would love to see the Republican Party not be the moron party. A real strong conservative party would be fantastic. We wouldn't have to talk about the weird ass shit and, you know, be scared shitless when they get in power. But until we see a Republican Party that really stands on true conservative values, and I'll tell you what they are if you want to, not today, but we'll go through a whole thing on what real fucking American conservatism should look like, in my opinion. Yes, I'm going to decide what it should look like. Even though I'm not an American conservative, I'm going to say, like, this would be okay with me. This is fine. I don't agree with any of this stuff, but this is a totally fair counter to something that I might think. And by the way, it's not that fucking binary. There's going to be blurs, and that's how it should be, by the way. So, look, I'm rambling. I know I got on late. I'm sorry about that, folks, but we got it out the door. JD Vance means nothing to me other than it's a distraction from the real elephant in the room, which is Project 2025, the RNC platform, which they're codifying this week, which will probably just take Project 2025, move it over into the RNC platform. That's my concern. All the crazy stuff that's going to happen, especially now that Trump's in the sphere and he's going to walk around this band, he's going to do he's going to extract every single morsel of political capital out of that he can, and it's his prerogative. But make no mistake, J.D. Vance, Winnie the Pooh, Michael Jackson, Blade, anybody put into the VP position means nothing to me other than, okay, should something happen to Trump, if he's elected, this person takes over. What's this person going to do? They're going to do whatever's in the RNC platform. They're going to do whatever the agenda is. They're not going to be individuals. That's the one thing that you know with Republicans. They're just going to do exactly what is in their platform. They're not going to tell you about what's in their platform, by the way, because you'd be scared shitless if you knew exactly. That's why people are losing their mind on Project 2025. They've been saying what they want to do for years, but during election time, they do this. And then you're like, well, nothing changes. That's right. That's the whole point of conservatism. Nothing fucking changes. And then you're voting for this party thinking, oh, wow, they're going to be the change party. No. I love the fact that the Teamsters union leader was at the RNC. He's like, I'm the first Teamster leader to speak at the RNC. Do you know why? Because the RNC is against your existence. And so he's like, I'm making a stand. It's like laughable. It's like, oh, God. I would love for Republicans to embrace unions. They won't. They will never embrace unions in their platform. They're anti-unions in their platform. So this guy standing up there going, whoa, we're about workers' rights. No, they're not. That was the weirdest thing. So you have, you know, the distraction of the assassination. You have I shouldn't say distraction. It's a distraction to what we want. It is a distraction, but I'm not saying it to minimize it. God, people are so sensitive. But now you have the back and forth about J.D. Vance and the pick, and really, let's just leave it at this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who the vice presidential pick is. It's not the decider of the election. It never has been. It's not going to benefit Trump because he picked J.D. Vance. The only thing that's going to benefit Trump right now is inactive Democrats, people that think that things are always going to be the same, that stay on their sofa. There's a lot of people that are frustrated with Trump's antics, even people in his own party. I don't think all is lost in our existential fight against Trump, but I will say that it's no surprise to me that J.D. Vance is the pick. It's no surprise to me that J.D. Vance doesn't have any there and has flip-flopped pretty hardcore on everything about Trump, because as we talked about on this show, power must be the best drug in the world, and once we find it, we'll tell you exactly what the hype is, because apparently it's pretty powerful shit. Anyway, listen, I'm going to wrap. I know it was off the cuff tonight. I know it was late to the game. Hopefully you are okay with it. I blame it on my team of researchers. Everything is always their fault. It's never mine. I appreciate you guys checking in. Several people messaged me tonight and were like, hey, what's going on? Where's your live? Are you okay? Yes, I'm okay. I just had a human moment. I'm fine. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll maybe do a little bit more detail on JD Vance unless you're tired of it, unless you want to hear something else. Either way, wanted to get this one out the door. I apologize that we were late. Make sure you tune in tomorrow at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be on time tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.